Hi, good evening. My name is Dr. Andrea Walters. I'm the transition facilitator for Talbot County Public Schools. A few requests during this time of the presentation. Everybody is on mute until the presentation is complete. This is also pre-recorded. If you'd like, you may sign in during the time in the chat area just for information purposes. Throughout the presentation, if you have questions that come up, please feel free to put them in the chat area, and at the end of the presentation, we'll have an opportunity for a question and answer session. What is transition? Transition actually begins the year in which your student turns 14 during their IEP. It's basically a coordinated set of activities that results in an oriented based time which considers your students' needs, their strengths, and their preferences and interest. So it includes instruction, which goes along with the goals that are created within the IEP. It includes their related services, which could be occupational therapy or speech or other services. It also includes their community experiences, the development of employment, and any daily living skills they may experience within the classroom. Basically, we're preparing for life after high school to include post-secondary goals for work, for schooling or trade schools, and vocational opportunities. Transition planning includes self-determination and self-advocacy, community participation, post-secondary education, employment training, competitive employment, independent living, and adult service linkages. We start by looking at the opportunity for your student to have a transition vocational assessment. During the time that your student is in high school, usually between 10th and 11th grade year, if the IEP determines the student can have a vocational assessment completed by the transition facilitator. It's an additional interest inventory, which allows for the student to express or find out what their interest may be in the employment industry moving forward. It can also allow for possible work placements when we talk about work placements through doors. When we look at the IEP, we talk about the transition plan, and it's made up of the student preferences and interest. So the case manager will meet with your student annually to talk about what are their preferences and their interests. And of course, our students' minds change not only every day, but every year, which is fantastic because it means that they are taking on responsibility, maturing and growing up and figuring out what they want to do as they move forward. Once we figure out what their preferences and their interests are, we talk about their post-secondary goals, what employment might be interested in, what employment training they would need for that interest for employment, what academic they would need to support their employment, or what they may plan for independent living. Then we look at what course of study that would fall under that employment. That course of study does not mean what they're actually taking in high school. For example, if they're currently enrolled in the culinary arts program, that doesn't mean that that's the course of study that could be listed. They may be interested in actually pursuing an agriculture degree when they move forward outside of high school. So that might be what is actually listed under course of study. The projected category of exit then falls along the same roads of the course of study. The projected date of exit is when they would actually graduate. They may be in the 4-year, 5-year, or 6-year projected date of exit. 4-year determines if they will have a diploma. 5 years if they determine to stay for an extra year to obtain a diploma. And then the 6-year usually results in a receipt of a certificate of completion. In the transition plan, in the last few years, we've added transition activities. These are updated on an annual basis, and these basically work towards those post-secondary goals. So for example, if your student is interested in pursuing going into the Navy, then a transaction activity may include looking into what will it take to actually get into the Navy. That could be That could be a transition activity that your student would complete. And a transition activity would take an entire year that they can actually complete it. And you would receive reports along with all of the reports that you receive when they receive their reports on their goals. If it's been done, if it's been started, and how they actually have done on the actual transition activity. And the last part of the transition plan are the agency linkages. This is a sample of the agency linkage page, and we work directly with 4 different agencies. However, there are several others that are listed within our Secondary Transition Planning Guide for Individuals with Disabilities. This was published in 2019 by the Maryland Department of Education. This is given to you every year at your annual IEP meeting. Inside of this transition planning guide, there is also a sheet that must be signed yearly at the annual meeting by the parent and hopefully the student, stating that you've received the guide. Inside of the guide, it gives you very detailed information as to what should be happening starting at the age of 14 all the way up to the age of 21. Talks about the different agencies outside of the 4 that are listed that also can assist with transition and supports. The first one that is listed inside of the IEP is the Division of Rehabilitation Services, DOORS. They assist people with disabilities to work towards their vocational goals. They provide a seamless process from high school activities beginning at age 14 into work or post-secondary education. They provide trainings and supports for obtaining employment. First, what they start with is pre-employment transition services. We call that PREETS. It's designed for students who are between the ages of 14 and 21 and are enrolled in school. This basically is allowed for all students who have an IEP. It's an entitlement. There's no wait list or an eligibility requirement except that you have a documented disability, which is documented with an IEP, and you must be enrolled in school. And this will assist students in gaining skills to move into the workforce. The 5 categories in which they provide PREETS to prepare students for the workforce are through job exploration and counseling by looking at the strengths and the interests for future goals, then providing work-based learning experiences so that students can go out and have employment opportunities, which usually are in a paid experience for weeks at a time. And that way the student has the opportunity to see it firsthand if it's something they would like to pursue. There's counseling on post-secondary opportunities to assist students which options are available and assist in seeking disability supports in those settings. There's work readiness, which helps students gain soft skills for employment, and then self-advocacy so that students can learn their rights in the workplace and how to speak for themselves. As a student moves on to 2 years prior to leaving high school, which for a diploma, which would be 11th grade, with a certificate would be when they turn 20 years old. It's designed for a person with a disability who needs assistance in gaining and maintaining competitive integrated employment. There's no age limit, however, it must be 2 years from exiting high school. This is where it becomes eligibility based. It has to affect their functioning in the workplace to include their mobility, self-direction, self-care, communication, interpersonal skills, and work tolerance. It's an application process, so at that time we would meet with DOORS and have that application completed. The services that are included in vocational rehabilitation are career and psychological assessments, job development and coaching services, assistance with vocational trainings, assistance with post-secondary education, goods and services to maintain employment, and assistance with basic educational goals and needs. So let's take a minute and talk about entitlement versus eligibility. Entitlement includes free appropriate public education, FAPE, which all of our students receive when they attend public school education. Through agencies, it prepares for further education, employment, and independent living. And services are accessed through the school system. That's when we talked about the pre-ET system. And how that looks in the IEP is we meet on an annual basis, and then we determine how we can actually assist our students and prepare them for post-secondary opportunities. During the annual IEP meeting, as the transition facilitator, I'll make sure that there's a meeting scheduled with DOORS to put a pre-employment transition services plan together so that they can get some of those services provided to them while they are in high school. Once we meet that VR opportunity, the vocational rehabilitation, that's when we get to eligibility based. Eligibility for post-secondary services is not guaranteed. You must qualify for those services, and it's all depending on funding. Responsibility to obtain the services then falls on the individual, parent, and guardian. This is where the self-advocacy skills that are taught during pre-ETs is extremely important. The agencies are not going to come to you. You need to go to the agency to receive and find out if the services are approved. The next agency is Developmental Disabilities Administration, DDA. Their appropriate services oriented towards the goal of full integration into their community, including obtaining and maintaining integrated competitive employment. DDA services are not an entitlement. They are completely on an eligibility-based process. They must have a severe chronic disability that continues indefinitely, occurred before the age of 22, inability to live independently, and there is a need for services which are individually planned and coordinated. When to file an application for DDA. It's recommended that you, as early as that you are identified with a disability that requires supports once the student leaves the high school setting, can be as early as second grade, depending on what the identified disability is. Some of the identified disabilities don't automatically get you qualified. DDA makes that determination. For example, you may be identified with autism, but you may be on the higher functioning level of autism. So if you are higher level of autism, they may determine that due to your higher functioning, that you will not receive DDA supports. The last agency listed is Division of Workforce Development, Adult Learning, Maryland Department of Labor. They provide career consultations, training, computer access, connects customers to work-related training, and job seekers. At the moment, we don't refer any of our students to the location of Department of Labor. However, we're in the current process of developing more of a relationship, so hopefully more to come as to how we'll be able to use them to our advantage and help our students out moving forward. So to talk about some of our programming here in Talbot County Public Schools, that if you have a student who plans to earn a certificate of completion. During their 12th grade year, their 4th year of high school, we offer an opportunity in partnership with DOORS and the Benedictine program as a stepping stone to our additional program. They will be able to participate in 3 classes during the school year that include self-advocacy, post-secondary readiness, retail training, and hospitality trainings. And what that looks like is they still attend school as they would on a normal basis every day, get on their bus, go to school, receive their related services, as well as any other classes. However, it's in a bulk of weeks at a time, and we provide supports. if the IEP team agrees that it's appropriate for the student. And for example, the self-advocacy and post-secondary readiness class is 6 weeks long, and it's Monday through Friday. And because we're currently virtual, it was for 2 hours a day. And they're about to start the hospitality training, and that's going to be virtual, trying to work out the details of how that will look virtually. However, they normally would be going out to restaurants and learning the soft skills that it takes for hospitality. However, working with Benedictine indoors, we're still able to offer the trainings, and it's fantastic that that's still occurring. As a stepping stone, when they go into their 5th year of programming, they would then go to our PATH program, which is Promoting Adult Achievement in Transition and Health. This program is for our students from 18 to 21 that are entering their 5th year at the high school location. It is held at Chesapeake. We are currently virtual, so it is at the high school. It's 5 days a week. They would still take their transportation, their Talbot County Public School transportation to the high school, take it from the high school to the college, and be at the college normally from 9 till about 1:15, 1:30, and then come back to the high school. So they still receive their related services. We have a full-time certified staff teacher, and then we provide an instructional assistant, one from each of the counties, because we're in collaboration with Kent County and Queen Anne's County. And there is a limit per county as to how many students can be in the room due to the supports that must be required, as well as space. The curriculum that's covered is projected life and wellness, projected work-based learning, and projected life-centered education. Some of the topics that are covered: healthy friendships and relationships, finding a career, applying for jobs, being self-aware, disability rights and responsibilities. Some important things for our students to know as they move forward. And then as they leave us at 21, being ready to be out in the community and gainfully employed. So now we'll take time for a question and answer. I'm going to go through the next few slides because this will be posted and available for the context that we talk about within the actual presentation. The first one is myself. The next one is Andrea Wilson, who I'll introduce because she is also available this evening. For DDA. Then for the Department of Labor. Just so you know, we're very thankful for your time and support. We're looking forward to continuing developing our program in transition, making it seamless for our students of Talbot County Public Schools. And thank you for sending us your very best every day. It definitely puts a smile on many faces. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and we'll take your questions. Thank you.